Hi, my name is David McKenna, and in the next couple minutes, I'm going to tell you how the most terrifying moment of my life, where I found myself in tears, screaming at my own wife, and waving a 9-inch butcher's knife in her face, led me to discover the most incredible hair regrowth breakthrough of the 21st century that allowed me to go from this to this in less than 6 weeks. Based on sensational new research carried out at the University of Pennsylvania and Johns Hopkins University, this 100% natural method goes against every theory on hair loss ever written and effortlessly brought every single hair on my head back from the dead. This method doesn't involve any surgery, gels, or pills. It's so dirt cheap it might as well be free, and is so easy to do you can put it into action yourself from your own home starting today. Within as little as 14 days, you'll experience the rush of feeling new thick hairs miraculously sprouting all over your head, leaving your friends and family speechless and every bald person you know desperate to know your secret. You'll soon discover how everything both you and your doctor thought you knew about hair loss is dead wrong. How the reason for your increasingly noticeable bald spot has absolutely nothing to do with the aging process or genetics, but is instead all down to a little known and poorly understood enzyme that is right this second instructing your hair follicles to stop producing new hair. And by simply turning this enzyme off, you can allow all your currently dormant follicles, which you have never lost, to start producing new, healthy hair again, just as they've done in the past. In this short info-packed presentation, I'm going to show you just how easy it is to naturally turn these hair-killing enzymes off so you can begin to permanently and safely regrow your hair starting today. No matter if you suffer from alopecia or male pattern baldness, whether you're male or female, age 18 or 80, no matter how severe your baldness is or what age it began, whether you've tried every single baldness treatment or remedy under the sun, or even if your doctor has told you it's medically impossible to regrow your hair. Because the truth is, it's not impossible. In fact, this secret has already been used by nearly 63,000 men and women to regrow thick, full, and healthy hair in as little as a few weeks. Let's take a look at just a few. Edward, age 44, began using this natural baldness reversing secret just 6 weeks ago and now has a thick, dense head of hair for his wedding next month. His wife is overjoyed at the transformation and loves to run her hands through her husband's mane. How amazing is that? Peter here contacted me just 8 days ago to help him regrow his hair that started falling out 27 years ago. He can already see brand new hairs growing all over the top of his head and has never felt more confident and youthful. Sally, a mother of 2 who suffered from bald spots in her hair since she was a teenager, never thought this protocol would work. But after 2 months, her bald spots are nowhere to be seen, and she feels as sexy and attractive as ever. And Michael, a 51-year-old sales rep who is a Norwood 6 on the scale of male pattern baldness, used this secret to completely reverse his baldness within 4 weeks. His colleagues still cannot believe he did it without surgery, and his sales commissions have doubled with his new look. Can you imagine just days from now the thrill and excitement of feeling hair sprouting all over your once hairless bald spot? Imagine no longer feeling powerless at the sight of hairs all over your pillow, or watching them fall out in the shower every morning and get sucked down the drain along with your youth, or looking in the mirror every day feeling miserable, depressed, and wondering where it all went. Imagine ditching all the embarrassment and the stigma that being a bald man brings, the hits to your self-esteem, the lack of confidence, having to hide it with baseball caps or hats, and feeling less of a man than those with hair. Instead, you'll be able to take control of your hairline permanently. Yes, you may be feeling skeptical, thinking this all sounds a little too good to be true. I felt the same way not that long ago. But stay with me for just a moment more, because I will not only explain the indisputable medical science behind how results like this are possible, I will also explain the exact steps you can take today to achieve the same miraculous results yourself. But before I reveal any more, I must warn you that Big Pharma and the multi-billion-dollar hair loss treatment industry are angry, I'd say even furious with me for speaking to you today. They're not happy that this discovery was made by me, your regular American dad, with no biochemistry background whatsoever, and not them and their multi-billion-dollar laboratories. It infuriates them even more that this method is so quick, simple, and inexpensive, and was right under their noses the whole time. And so they are doing everything in their power to prevent me from sharing this information with you today. So I urge you to watch this video until the very end and discover this secret while you still can, because there's no guarantee this video will still be up tomorrow or even a few hours from now. As I said, my name is David McKenna. I'm 48 years old and the manager of a small family-run legal firm, and I live in East Providence, Rhode Island with my wife, Sarah. You're probably wondering how an admittedly average guy like myself came to stumble upon the biggest hair regrowth breakthrough of this century. Well, sharing my story with you today isn't easy for me to do, because what I'm about to reveal was one of the most embarrassing and soul-destroying moments of my entire life. It all started about 12 years ago when I noticed my hair was starting to thin, especially near my temple and forehead. Soon enough, I'd wake up in the morning and find dozens more hairs on my pillow, and I'd start every day depressed and self-conscious about my appearance as my hair slowly receded. Every time I even touched my head, hairs would be all over my hand. My wife Sarah had always commented on how much she loved my long, thick hair, but as the years went by, I developed a prominent receding hairline and bald spot on the top of my head, which made me look 20 years older. As the years went by, my confidence took a real beating, and I could tell that Sarah was finding me less and less attractive. We used to have sex regularly, but losing my hair had the same effect as being chemically castrated. Sarah always had an excuse. "I've got a headache," she'd say. "I've got to get up early for work in the morning. I'm too tired," was her favorite. Yep. We never talked about it, but my receding hairline was destroying our sex life and our marriage. Losing your hair is about the worst thing that can happen to anyone. And when you experience your own wife's lack of desire for you, it makes you feel like a shadow of the man you once were. For a select few like Bruce Willis or Jason Statham, the bald look is great. But I had sadly inherited my dad's flat and strange-looking back of the head that it looked like I was from outer space. And like anyone losing their hair and suffering from these kinds of confidence and self-esteem issues, I was desperate to find a solution. First, I tried Rogaine and used it for 6 months, twice a day as directed. But although this seemed to slightly slow down the loss of my existing hair, it did absolutely nothing to grow it back. And at around $50 a month, I'd be paying $600 a year for barely any noticeable results. That wasn't the solution. Next, I tried finasteride medication in the form of Propecia tablets. It didn't do anything more than create a few pathetic little fluffs of hair. What's more, the finasteride drug, which is infamous for its side effects, didn't disappoint on that front either. I suffered from bizarre swelling in my hands and feet, dizziness, headaches, a weird rash on my legs and arms, and difficulty urinating. I completely lost the urge to have sex and couldn't keep an erection, which I guess wasn't the end of the world as my wife wasn't interested anyway. And if I didn't already feel like less of a man, finasteride literally destroyed my sperm count, another huge and very common side effect of the drug. Plus, after researching finasteride a little more, I found that even if you do regrow some hair, all of that new hair falls out again within just a few months if you stop taking the drug. I didn't want to become hooked into a lifetime of medication and creams, restocking every month like an addict. No way. It was time to look into the hair transplant option. But not only was this incredibly expensive at up to $30,000, but I didn't like the idea of someone slicing off several inches of my scalp to harvest hair grafts. It looked barbaric. I read about horror stories of people left with terrible scarring and other cases where the transplanted hair actually goes into shock and falls out and incredibly causes existing hair to do the same. What's worse, even if it does work, what most doctors won't tell you is that your hair keeps receding behind the transplanted area. So within a few years, you're forced into paying for another procedure and then another for the rest of your life, costing you tens of thousands of dollars each time. And if you choose not to pay for more surgery, you'll wind up with bald patches behind the transplanted area, which will make your head look like a freak show. In short, if I went down this route, I'd become a prisoner to the transplant for the rest of my life, the same way I would have been a prisoner to the medication and creams. Instead, I swore no matter how much my shiny bald head tortured me, I would never submit to the cost and dangers of medications or surgery. I decided to accept my fate, let nature take its course, and face the truth that I'd be bald for the rest of my days, that I'd have to go through life feeling insecure and self-conscious, and that my wife may never find me sexually attractive ever again. And that would be the end of my incredible true story, if it wasn't for a shocking incident that happened just 2 months later, when I found myself standing in front of my own wife, crying my eyes out, and waving a 9-inch butcher's knife in my hand. A terrifying moment that bizarrely saved me from a life of baldness. So what happened to make me act like such a lunatic? Well, it's an embarrassing story, but it's important that I tell it to you so you can understand what my hair loss did to my state of mind and my marriage. It all started when we were sitting in the kitchen one night eating dinner when Sarah went upstairs to the powder room. I noticed her phone just sitting there on the table. A message pinged, and all I could see was the contact Jack on the summary of the phone. I sat for a minute, tapping my fingers until the urge to look became just way too much. I didn't want to be that guy, the one who is always checking and worrying what his wife is up to, but my confidence was so low at that time, I felt I had no choice. Sarah had no idea that I knew the passcode on her phone, so I was in seconds. What did I read? Well, you know that feeling you get when you read some really terrible news and it's like your heart drops into your stomach? That's how I felt. My wife was having an affair. It was awful. I looked at Jack's profile photo. He looked a little like me, but with a full, thick head of hair. It made me feel pathetic, like I wasn't good enough for Sarah anymore, like I wasn't the man she wanted. I quickly read through as many messages as I could before Sarah came back downstairs. There were dozens of them. Messages between my wife and this Jack. The messages were lewd. They were painful to read, but I couldn't stop. Imagining my wife doing things with another man made me angry as hell. I couldn't stop thinking about her with this guy, kissing him and running her hands through his hair like she used to do with me. There must have been steam coming out of my ears. But there was worse to come. As I scanned the messages, I noticed that Sarah had written the following. "I just don't find him attractive since he started losing his hair," she said. "I feel terrible, but that's just the way I feel." It was brutal. My hair loss had literally driven my wife into the hands of another man. Just then, Sarah came bounding into the room and I just snapped. I totally lost it. I grabbed a 9-inch knife from the kitchen counter and started pointing it at her, waving it around, screaming like a total madman. "What the hell are you doing?" Sarah yelled at me. "Have you gone crazy?" Sarah pleaded with me to put the knife down as she backed away, and at that moment I caught sight of myself in the kitchen mirror. Shocked at the reflection staring back at me, I dropped the knife and I ran out of the house as fast as I could. For the next 3 weeks I stayed away from Sarah. I was ashamed at my actions and angry at her, but I knew what I needed to do. I still loved Sarah and I wanted my wife back. I couldn't imagine my life without her. But I knew she'd never be physically attracted to me again unless I had a full, thick head of hair. And I knew I'd never really be truly happy and secure in myself until I made it happen. But I already knew that Rogaine was useless. Finasteride only achieved little fluffs of hair at best, and a hair transplant was out of the question. I didn't know where to turn or what to do. But then something happened that would change everything and led me to stumble upon the hair loss solution that you're about to learn. I'll never forget that day. It was November 17th, 2015. Late one night, I was sitting alone in my car, flicking through radio stations when I heard the words, "revolutionary treatment for hair loss." I frantically grabbed at the knob on the radio to get back to the station and listen, and I found it just in time. It was from an obscure radio station from hundreds of miles away. How I picked it up, I do not know. It was a crackly signal, but I heard it all. According to the report, researchers at the Perelman School of Medicine at the University of Pennsylvania had made a startling discovery. While all conventional treatments for hair loss that I had tried in the past merely helped, albeit poorly, to grow back a few little hairs, this team were the first to tackle head-on the actual cause of hair loss. The truth is, most doctors are purely concerned with the effect, the symptoms of the condition, rather than the cause. Amazingly, during clinical trials, they'd found that people losing their hair all had something in common, an abnormally high amount of a little-known enzyme called prostaglandin D2, or PGD2. During the study, when the enzyme PGD2 was added to human follicles in a petri dish, hair growth was dramatically reduced. And the researchers also found that animals with high levels of PGD2 lacked hair completely. The researchers discovered that PGD2 was effectively instructing hair follicles to stop producing hair. In essence, the more PGD2 enzyme an animal or a person has, the less hair it will grow from its follicles. The remarkable findings, which were supported by another study carried out at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, were published in the renowned medical journals Science Translational Medicine and the Journal of Investigative Dermatology. All the researchers now needed to do was develop a way of blocking the activation of PGD2 and thus stop PGD2 from instructing follicles to turn off. Do this, and not only would current hair loss be stopped, but it would also enable hair follicles to start producing new hairs again, just as they did when you were younger. I couldn't believe it, and sat there open mouthed, full of excitement and renewed hope. But then the last few words of the radio report hit me like a 10-ton truck. The researchers were developing a drug based on the blocking of the PGD2 enzyme, but apparently this revolutionary new drug wouldn't be available for years, and they weren't lying. When I looked into it, it turns out that the average time it takes for a new drug to go from the laboratory to the pharmacy shelf is 12 years. 12 years! I couldn't wait 12 minutes, let alone 12 years. I wanted this now, and I needed it now. So that day, I began to do my own research. I studied papers, old textbooks, and medical journals from as far back as 1920. I scoured the internet to learn anything I could about PGD2. As the weeks and months rolled by, I became more and more resigned to the fact that I'd be in my 60s before this blockbuster drug would ever hit the market. But I persevered. Until the morning of January 12, 2016, when I finally had my lucky break. While searching through a medical archive at my local library, I found a buried research paper from a 2008 study carried out at the University of Athens Medical School in Greece, which concluded that natural flavonoids called quercetin and luteolin inhibited the production of PGD2. Yep, they sounded like alien words to me as well, and I only assumed that for me to create these compounds, I would have to invest in some sort of chemistry lab equipment or get outside help. But I was shocked when I looked into them further. It turns out that quercetin was a phytochemical compound that is in fact found in specific apples, peppers, cherries, and even some special red wines. And luteolin? Well, that's a crystalline compound found in certain types of broccoli, green pepper, parsley, and even thyme. It couldn't be that easy, could it? I knew I was onto something. It sounded crazy, but my theory was simple. Duplicate the exact amounts of quercetin and luteolin as per the successful study carried out at the University of Athens, and in doing so, inhibit the production of PGD2, which according to the research by the University of Pennsylvania would turn all my hair follicles back on. I knew the body digested different foods at different rates, so over the next week, I researched and wrote up hundreds of combinations of varying ratios of quercetin and luteolin from a huge range of natural sources, such as vegetables, spices, herbs, fruits, and even wines. The balance was key. It had to match the research made at the University of Athens. Too much, and the body would have flushed all the natural compounds through the kidneys without absorbing them. Too little, and there would be no effect. My investigation also uncovered several minerals and vitamins that would speed up the process, including a study carried out at the College of Natural Sciences at the Soonchungyang University in South Korea, which found that a particular type of tea significantly inhibited prostaglandin D2. It was time for a human trial, and this time I would be the guinea pig. I first paid for a blood test at my local hospital to check for my PGD2 levels, and as expected, mine were in the 98th percentile. That is, only 2% of the population in the US had higher levels of PGD2 than me. I knew what I had to do. I began the program the very next day, using a system that many called ridiculous, but I felt I had nothing to lose. I kept notes on everything. And if one of the ratios of the compounds were having no effect, I would slash it from the list. I only wanted the best and most powerful nutrients in my protocol, because I was sick and tired of being bald, and I didn't want to waste my time with something that kind of worked. I wanted a cure or nothing at all. Following the protocol was simple. I added a bowl of the required food with my meal each day. I didn't have to replace or remove existing foods I was already eating. And the great thing is, there was real variety. My research had uncovered so many unusual sources of quercetin and luteolin, so I was able to vary the sources in a rolling program, which also ensured my body never reached a plateau and didn't become used to or tolerant to the sources of the compounds, which would make them less effective. It also meant the protocol was never boring, and I wasn't eating the same foods each day. Lastly, to turbocharge my progress, I made sure to include any minerals, supplements, or vitamins I had found, including the special variety of teas and anything that would help my new hairs grow faster, healthier, and supply all the raw material for them to do so. So what happened next? Well, the first week passed and nothing happened. The second week, and again nothing. It didn't make sense. I was doing exactly as the previous research had done. how my research had concluded. I hoped it was just my body reactivating its follicles after decades of being deactivated. Admittedly, I still felt very skeptical. No topical treatment had really worked before, and no weird supplement or pill. And here I was, following a program developed using research from a university in Athens, Greece, by a team of doctors nearly 4,000 miles away, using ingredients that cost less than $10 to put together. It was almost disheartening, but I carried on regardless. What other option was there? But then, as all hope seemed lost, I woke up on the morning of day 18, and my entire life changed the second I stepped in front of the mirror. At first, I thought I had some dirt or a smudge of something across the top of my head, a strange dark mark over it. But the second I touched it and felt small prickles of hairs, my heart skipped a beat. There was a whole jungle of tiny hairs growing out like wildfire all over my bald patch. I still remember to this day the joy of feeling those hairs with my fingers. It makes me so happy to think back. It was like being born again. I'm not a religious guy, but I felt like this was a gift from God. Pure, overwhelming joy coursed through my body. I'm not ashamed to admit it. It was such an overpowering feeling that I burst into tears right there and then. I had done it. Over the following weeks, I jumped out of bed every morning like a kid at Christmas, excited to see the new hairs that were coming through. And with each day, I couldn't wait to eat the winning combinations of the required foods to speed up the regrowth even more. I even believe my results would have come quicker if I hadn't been experimenting in the early stages. So how fast did it work? Well, in less than 5 weeks, my hair had grown so much and so thick, I had to get a haircut. It was the first proper haircut that wasn't a simple buzz cut I'd had since I was in my late 20s. Incredible. Unless I had shown you the picture of my results, you wouldn't have believed it in 100 years. To confirm this wasn't a fluke, I went back to the same hospital for a blood test to check my PGD2 levels. And when the nurse came back shell-shocked, wanting to do a second reading, I knew something was up. I had been left with less than 4% PGD2, the same amount as a virile teenager with a thick, full head of hair. The results were astounding. And the most amazing thing was, the method I was using was so simple and so natural, anyone with no prior understanding could pick it up and do it. It was 2 fingers up to the multi-billion-dollar hair loss industry. I was buzzing with more confidence than I'd ever had in my life, and I walked down the street feeling 10 feet tall. I felt like a lead weight had finally been lifted off my shoulders. My friends couldn't believe what had happened and kept grabbing and pulling at my hair, convinced that I must be wearing a wig or that I'd had a hair transplant. But I couldn't help but wonder, if it had worked so well for me, would it work for others too? There were a couple of guys at the law firm practically begging for my protocol, so I happily mailed it to them. And within weeks, they started telling me just how easy it was to follow and how quickly and effectively it worked. One of the single guys at work started getting more dates than he'd had in decades, more than he could even handle. Another noticed how he was being treated with more respect. Of course, I was happy that I was making others happy. Their new confidence had completely changed their relationships with their spouses and boyfriends, but deep down, I desperately wanted my own wife back. 6 months after running out of the house after finding out about my wife's affair, I was back, and I looked and felt like a totally different man. Sarah couldn't believe the difference. We talked, and eventually we did patch things up. I was full of confidence again, secure in myself, and proud about the way that I looked. And Sarah, she couldn't keep her hands off of me. The sex was better than ever because I felt 20 years younger, and Sarah was definitely attracted to me again. My protocol had given my wife back, and it literally transformed my entire life. It felt fantastic. After a few weeks, I decided that it was about time that I started to think about more than just the people I knew at work and family. At that point, I felt like I had all of the testing I could ever need. I had dozens of real-world successes already. After all, I couldn't in good conscience keep this to myself. It wouldn't be right when there were literally hundreds of millions of people out there feeling depressed and miserable because of their hair loss and desperate for a solution. I felt this was an incredible discovery that every man and woman deserved to know. People had to know that there was a completely natural and inexpensive way to treat hair loss, and there was no need to wait any further for another failed option by Big Pharma. So I decided to put it online for each and every man and woman to see. I packaged all the material, all my research, the working combinations, and experiments to create a comprehensive, easy, step-by-step hair restoration program that anybody can follow. And now I want to give it to you. I call it the Regrow Hair Protocol, a permanent solution to your temporary hair loss problem. This 100% natural, simple, safe, and easy-to-follow program contains the exact step-by-step formula that I use to regrow a full and thick head of hair within weeks, transform my confidence and self-esteem, get my wife back, and feel happier than I have in years. Incredibly, the Regrow Hair Protocol succeeded in less than 6 weeks, where medication and over-the-counter hair loss treatments had failed me for over 10 years. I can hardly wait for you to experience the same results yourself, starting today. So let's take a look at what you'll find inside. First off, you'll get the Regrow Hair Protocol Guide. This is the big daddy of the program, where you'll get my unrestricted access to my highly optimized, most up-to-date and complete combinations of nutrients, ingredients, vitamins, and foods, which are scientifically proven to address the root cause of your hair loss, the deactivation of the PGD2 enzyme, which in turn will effectively instruct your hair follicles to turn on and start regrowing a thick, full, and healthy head of hair again, regardless of how much hair you've lost, how old you are, or whether you're male or female. This approach is 100% unique to the Regrow Hair Protocol, and you will not find it anywhere else. Included in the guidebook is an easy-to-follow and done-for-you day-by-day protocol, schedule, and calendar to follow, which will teach you exactly what foods to eat and in the specific combinations. I describe just how quick and easy it is to put this protocol to work starting today and run it for as long as you like on complete autopilot with little effort at all. I also talk about my special vitamins, minerals, and even teas that will help to turbocharge the process of growing new hair and supplying the raw materials to do so. Adding this special formula to your diet is like pouring the finest seed on your lawn and watching the grass sprout and grow into a thick and luscious garden. But that's not all you're getting. As well as the main guidebook, I'm also going to give you my hair-raising recipe guide, which comes complete with 38 delicious and easy-to-prepare recipes, complete with all the ingredients and directions you need to get all of these foods into as many of your meals as possible. These are recipes that I personally use to help regrow my hair, and they are easy to follow, and best of all, they taste great. And finally, you will also receive hairy smoothies. I've included this additional guide because I completely understand how busy and stressful life can be, and not all of us can fit in 3 meals a day. So if you're pushed for time, you can still give your body exactly what it needs to block the PGD2 enzyme with 20 great tasting and nutritious shakes. And don't forget, this is a 100% natural and completely safe treatment program, so there is absolutely zero risk to your health. We're not talking about completely altering your diet here or starving yourself. I couldn't do that, and I don't expect you to do it either. Instead, all you need to do is add a few of these combinations of powerful natural ingredients to as many of your meals as you can each day. And within the program, I'll be revealing the exact amounts and combinations you need to achieve the fastest possible results. That's literally all it takes to prevent the PGD2 enzyme from being activated, which will not only stop any further hair loss, but allow you to turn on your dormant follicles and start regrowing new hair again, just as you did when you were a kid. And just imagine for a moment how that would feel. Imagine no longer feeling self-conscious about your hairline. Imagine the confidence you'll have when you look in the mirror and for the first time in years or even decades, see a permanent, thick, full head of hair staring back at you. Imagine being able to style your hair again and play around with it with wax, gel, or mousse until it looks just like it did when you were in your teens or early 20s. Imagine what it will feel like to see the faces of your spouse, your friends, your coworkers, and your kids when they see the transformation for themselves. And imagine the feeling you'll have when you walk down the street feeling 10 feet tall and looking 10 years younger. I can tell you firsthand, this is an experience and feeling that you will never forget. In fact, there are now nearly 63,000 men and women just like you who have used the Regrow Hair Protocol already and are experiencing these feelings right now. Benjamin from San Antonio, Texas sent in his remarkable progress just last week. He was nicknamed Cue Ball at his office and had tried every cream and pill he could get his hands on. But after trying the Regrow Hair Protocol for just 2 months, he had the bushiest hair in his office, and now guys are asking him for his secret. Terrell was so ashamed of his bald patch that he never went outside without his trusty cap. I was so happy for him and so glad he contacted me and decided to put my protocol to the test, because 7 weeks on, He has a fantastic head of hair and has finally ditched his cap for good. And even better, his girlfriend is ecstatic with her man's new locks. Milton here thought he was too old to try my program. Can you believe it? I quickly explained to him even a 100-year-old still has the same follicles as a 20-year-old. It's just a case of turning them on. He decided to give it a shot, and 51 days later, he's now a silver fox. Great work, Milton! But it's not just people sending me photos. I get a ton of emails from clients like Larry Henderson of Flint, Michigan, who emailed in to say this. David, I just wanted to say thank you for everything you've done and for getting this treatment out to the public and to people like me. I started losing my hair in my mid-20s, and I've hated looking in the mirror every day since. I tried all the usual treatments with no success and had very little faith that this would either. I am so glad I decided to abandon my skepticism and try it. It has been the best money I have ever spent in my entire life, and I feel so much happier. Thank you. I have thousands more success stories just like those from people all over the world who have used this program to regrow years of lost hair, boost their confidence and self-esteem, and look years younger in a matter of just weeks. And I'm sure you can agree there is nothing like the Regrow hair protocol out there at the moment. I'm 100% sure of that, in fact. So if you take into account the fact that this is my permanent solution to hair loss, which is 100% unique, safe, natural, and quick, and works within weeks, and because of the results my clients were seeing, together with the risks I was taking in developing this treatment, and then making it available to the public, I'm sure you can understand why I originally considered charging as much as $597 for it. But here's the thing. I didn't create this website to make money. If I really wanted to, I could contact the big pharma companies trying to shut me down, sell up, and live in Hawaii for the rest of my life. They would love that, trust me. They would jump at the chance to bury my research and pretend it never existed. But you've heard my story. I've been through what you are going through right now. I have made this video because I know firsthand how upsetting it can be to watch your hair fall out day after day, to feel less attractive and less of a man or woman, and not being able to do anything about it. To be so desperate for a solution that you're prepared to pump your body full of toxic drugs or have your scalp sliced open with a knife and pay thousands of dollars for the privilege. None of these options are real solutions when you compare them to the Regrow hair protocol. Believe me, I know exactly what you're going through and the humiliation and depression that comes with baldness. And I don't want you to feel that way any longer. I wouldn't even wish it upon my worst enemy. And after seeing the stunning results of this treatment for myself, there was no way I could deny others the opportunity to experience these results for themselves. So the last thing I want is for the price to be a factor in your decision. As a result, there's no way I'm going to ask you to pay anything like $597, even though that would still be an absolute bargain for what you're getting access to here. And I'm not going to ask you to pay $397 either, or $197, or even $97 for that matter. My conscience wouldn't allow it. Instead, on this website only, if you act right now, right this second, you can get my fully comprehensive Regrow Hair Protocol Guidebook with a complete done-for-you action plan and timetable, plus the Hairy Smoothies Guide and the Hair Raising Recipes Guide. And you get everything for the price you see below, which is just enough to cover my costs and allow me to keep this website and video running. And all you need to do to get started is hit the Add to Cart button below. Once you do that, you will be sent through to my secure checkout page where you can enter your details. And from there, you'll be directed straight through to your private members area where you can download the entire program to your computer, laptop, cell phone, or tablet and start your journey towards a full, thick, and healthy head of hair within the next 2 minutes. But here's something else you need to know. You see, I completely understand if you're feeling a little skeptical about everything that you've just seen and heard during this presentation. I would be too. So to put your mind at rest, I've decided to include a rock-solid 60-day money-back guarantee with every order. This means that all you have to say right now is maybe, and you can then take advantage of my full 2-month risk-free trial where you can put the full Regrow hair protocol to the test, read the guide, try out all the recipes and smoothies. And if you don't see a dramatic lowering of your hairline and a noticeable improvement in new hair growth during that time, then simply email me at the address provided in the members area and I will refund every single cent of your investment with no questions asked. This is a completely free decision. I am holding all the risk here. It's that simple. If this protocol doesn't help you like it helped me, then I don't want your money. This protocol succeeded for me where years of medications and creams had failed. I have already regrown my hair, and I look and feel great. I want you to feel the same, with no pressure and no catches. So click the Add to Cart button below while you still can. And I urge you to take this opportunity while you still can. Since this presentation went live, I have received multiple emails warning me to take it down, followed by several letters from separate pharmaceutical companies promising legal action if it's not removed. As I explained earlier in the presentation, I have annoyed some very powerful people in high places with my simple, quick, 100% natural and effective protocol for reversing hair loss. They now know that the natural ingredients I uncovered have been proven to block the PGD2 enzyme. But natural ingredients cannot be legally patented by pharmaceutical companies or any company for that matter, which means Big Pharma can't make money from them. The American Hair Loss Association reports that by the age of 35, 2/3 of all men will experience some degree of hair loss, and by the age of 50, an incredible 85% of men will have significantly thinner hair. And if they're anything like I was, a rapidly receding hairline and an ever-increasing bald spot too. This is a multi-trillion-dollar market we're talking about here, so I'm sure you can see why the pharmaceutical companies will do everything in their power to stop a natural treatment from ever becoming public. They have specifically set aside millions of dollars to silence and crush the little guys like me. And as much as I hate to admit it, they're right. So far, I've resisted their demands to take this website down, and I will do so for as long as I can. But I can't afford to fight Big Pharma for much longer. Eventually, I will have to take this presentation down, and it could be gone by tomorrow, or even within the next hour. So I urge you to make your decision now while you still can. If you click away now and decide to come back later, this website may be gone, and there will be nothing I can do for you. So right now, you have 3 options. Option number 1, you can say thanks but no thanks, David, and simply click away from this presentation. And if that's what you decide to do, I wish you the best. But remember, by walking away now, you could be losing out on your one and only chance to get a full, thick, and healthy head of hair again, just like you enjoyed in your youth. You'll be accepting a lifetime of comb-overs, a lifetime of constantly wearing a cap on your head and feeling insecure, self-conscious, and unattractive, where you look years older than you actually are. And let's face it, is that really what you want when there's a proven solution staring you in the face right now? Or what about option number 2, the medication or surgical route? Here you can choose to spend $1,000 a year on a drug like finasteride, which will do nothing more than regrow a few fluffy hairs on your head and, at best, slow down the rate at which your hair falls out. Or worse, create a whole bunch of nasty side effects like the ones I experienced, such as swelling of the hands and feet, dizziness, headaches, skin rashes, difficulty urinating, and of course, erectile dysfunction and a depleted sperm count. Sounds great, right? Or you can choose to have your scalp sliced open with a knife, run the risk of long-term scarring, and pay anywhere from $5,000 to $30,000 with absolutely no guarantee of results. Or you can try option number 3, the safe, easy, and 100% natural option, and put my fast-acting hair loss reversing protocol to the test, completely risk-free for a full 60 days. Yes, all the risk is all on me. You have nothing to lose but everything to gain. A full, thick, and healthy head of hair just like you had in your youth. And all you need to do is click the button below. This has been David McKenna, and I look forward to hearing your success story very soon. Still there? No problem. Like I said earlier, I completely understand if you're a little skeptical about everything that you've just seen and heard. After all, it is a lot to take in, and I get that. And you probably still have a few questions that you'd like answered. So to help you out, I've compiled a list of the most frequently asked questions that I've received. The most common question I get asked is, how does this treatment work, and how is it different from other hair loss remedies like finasteride or Rogaine? Well, first of all, my protocol is 100% natural. There are no toxic drugs involved at all. So you won't incur any nasty side effects, which are scarily commonplace with finasteride drugs like Propecia and Proscar in particular. And unlike these options, which can set you back many hundreds of dollars each year for no real progress, my protocol costs less than the price of a meal out at an average restaurant. So how does it work? Well, it works by targeting an enzyme called prostaglandin D2. And it's this enzyme that effectively instructs hair follicles to stop producing hair. However, certain natural ingredients, when combined together and in just the right quantities, were shown to block PGD2 and enable hair follicles to start producing new hairs again. Another question I often get asked is why the major pharmaceutical companies haven't produced a drug based on this research. And the answer is they are. In fact, multiple pharmaceutical companies are currently fighting it out to be the first to produce this drug because whoever gets their product onto the market first will make billions and perhaps even trillions of dollars in profits due to the huge level of demand and market size. But as I mentioned during this presentation, this drug won't be available for at least 10 to 12 years due to the fact that they need to modify this from a natural solution, which they cannot patent, into a chemical one, which they can. So as you can imagine, the last thing these companies want is for the world to know that a drug isn't necessary because it's possible to block the activation of the PGD2 enzyme with completely natural ingredients. And that's why 3 separate pharmaceutical companies are threatening me with legal action. A lot of people also ask me what they receive in the Regrow hair protocol. So if you're not completely sure, let me quickly confirm for you. When you place your order today, you will receive the entire program, which you will be able to download straight to your computer, laptop, cell phone, or tablet from your private members area. The program includes the main guidebook, which includes the exact formula you need to regrow your hair naturally, consisting of a set of special ingredients, as well as their exact amounts and combinations, all clinically proven to block the PGD2 enzyme. As well as the main guide, you'll also receive the hair-raising recipe guide, which comes with 38 delicious and easy-to-prepare recipes consisting of all of the most powerful ingredients contained within the formula, as well as the Hairy Smoothies book, which is packed full of tasty smoothie recipes that you can whip up in seconds, allowing you to keep to the protocol and get the nutrients you need every day, even if you're short on time. Many people are also a little worried about ordering online and ask whether their order is secure. And if you're worried about that, don't be. Firstly, my ordering system benefits from state-of-the-art encryption. So when you place your order with me, your information is 100% safe. In fact, you can feel more secure ordering through us than from almost anywhere else on the internet. Plus, your order is protected by my 60-day money-back guarantee, which I'm happy to offer because I'm so confident in the success of the protocol. This means that all you have to do today is say maybe, and you can then spend the next 60 days putting it to the test completely risk-free from the comfort of your own home. And if you don't see the growth you were expecting, or you change your mind for any reason at all, then all you need to do is email me at the address provided in the members area, and I will issue you a full and prompt refund with no questions asked and no hard feelings. Finally, I often get asked how long the program will be available for. And the truth is, I honestly can't tell you. I have already been issued with legal notices from a number of pharmaceutical companies demanding that I take down this presentation. These companies are terrified that if this treatment gets out and enough people start seeing just how effective it really is, the world will know that a drug isn't necessary, and it will cost them billions in future revenue. As you know, money talks, and I can't fight Big Pharma for much longer because they simply will not allow a natural treatment for hair loss to hit the market and threaten their precious profits. So if you want to start regrowing your hair quickly and naturally, restore your lost confidence and self-esteem, and look years younger in the process, then I urge you to act now while you still have a chance. To get started, simply click on the button below, and I'll see you on the inside.